So the Tigers' hype was nothing. And the Saints' hype is everything you want it to be. All that coming up in this episode of Cajun Connection. All right, thank you for tuning in to Cajun Connection, episode 13. I'm your host, John Behrens.
And I'm Joshua Perkins.
So let's get the inedible and unwanted and undesirable out of the way. Alabama came in and destroyed LSU.
Without a doubt. 29-0. I mean, and Alabama, and I'm going to say this right here. I mean, it's no secret that I don't like Alabama. I've never been a fan of the Alabama Crimson Tide for as long as I can remember. Never been a fan of them. But I do respect them as far as their play on the field. They came into the nation's most hostile environment on a Saturday night and not only dominated the Tigers offensively, but dominated them defensively as well. Joe Burrow had no time to throw the ball. Alabama offense was moving the ball at will. It was basically that night, everything that could have went wrong for the Tigers went wrong.
Yeah, and obviously it wasn't what I was hoping for, but it wasn't that big of a surprise. And it came down to the reasons that were the concerns I had going in. Does LSU have the offensive line to give Joe Burrow time to pass? No. That was pretty obvious from the get-go. Burrow, if he wasn't on the ground, he was outside the pocket for, I'd say, 90% of the time. Does LSU have the defensive line to get consistent pressure on Tua? Again, no. They did not get, outside the first quarter, I don't see any evidence they got consistent pressure on Tua at all.
I mean, the first quarter, the LSU defense looked outstanding first quarter. Yeah, they gave up some yards, but they made the stops when it was necessary in the first quarter. And I felt that it was basically just the momentum of the game starting and the emotions running high. But it was once Alabama calmed down was when Alabama really stepped into their game plan and they really stuck to their script. And to do it on a Saturday night in Tiger Stadium where it's very hostile, Alabama sent an emphatic statement to the rest of college football. And everybody say, before the LSU game, everybody was saying, they ain't played nobody. Alabama ain't played nobody. Wait till they go against a real team. Well, they did. And Alabama looked mighty impressive. And so that was basically Alabama's message, and basically the message they conveyed in their performance against LSU. They basically said, now you saw what we do against a real team. So if you want this smoke, you can come get it.
Yeah. Just watching, like you said, the defense came out on fire. They were ready to play from the get-go, and they matched Alabama pretty well for a quarter. But it was LSU's inability to move the ball much at all against Alabama's defense that I don't think it would have mattered had Devin White started the game on the sideline or not. In fact, he was a complete non-factor in the second half.
It was just Nick Saban dialed up the perfect game plan for this game. And it's just the way Alabama works, it's basically kind of like a mind game. Alabama is probably saying, well, you can stop us from scoring all you want. You're not going to score neither. So how long can you keep us from scoring? Not long in LSU's case.
No. But, again, I don't think that was because the defense wasn't that good. It was because the offense didn't keep the Alabama Crimson Tide off the field.
Well, I feel the defense did a good job. Overall, it's just, they were tired. They got gassed.
Yeah, they got gassed real early.
LSU had some of the shortest drives, a lot of 3-and-outs. They couldn't keep the ball out of the Alabama offense's hands. They couldn't keep the Alabama defense on the field. And it's just the LSU offense was totally out of sync for pretty much the whole game. I mean, they've done a couple good things offensively, but for the most part, they were out of sync.
So, what do you think of Southern Labs, Cardell Thomas, coming out and saying that LSU is going to beat Alabama all 4 years he's at the college?
I think that is a super bold statement. That is a very bold statement. But then again, I mean, Alabama has beaten LSU 8 straight times, 8 years in a row. So, I mean, who's to say that the tables don't turn for next season? Because LSU has a remarkable recruiting class coming in for 2019. Cardell Thomas being one of the top recruits coming out of Southern Lab. He's the #1 offensive guard in the country, and I've watched some of his film. The guy is an absolute animal. We're talking about a guy who's 6'4", weighing around 340 pounds. And I feel with him, if he drops at least a good 20 pounds, 20, 25 pounds, he would be a menace. I mean, at his size right now, he is very athletic. And his head coach right now really speaks highly of his athleticism. And so I'm very excited to see what this kid does when he comes to LSU next season.
I think Coach O said it best. They need to recruit the hell out of offensive line and defensive line, and because I think he understands that LSU is just from a talent level not on par with Alabama, and that was not more obvious than this past weekend. But you got Thomas coming in, who's a 5-star recruit, top recruit in the nation. I believe they have another 4-star recruit coming in. They have Southern Labs running back, who's been dubbed by some as the next Leonard Fournette.
That's scary.
They're just going to they're losing some guys in the secondary, but they're just going to reload on that end. They got the top defensive back in the nation coming in, and Stingley, and I think it was ESPN who's actually dubbed him top recruit in the nation. They have another. I think I want to say they have 2 5-star cornerbacks coming in.
And I mean, LSU's not losing that many people on their football team this season.
No,
I mean they're going to lose. They're going to lose Devin White to the draft. They're going to lose Nick Brossett, who's a senior right now. I mean, they're going to lose. I believe Greedy Williams is entering the draft this season as well, huh?
More than likely.
Right. And so they're not losing that. There's not many people that they're losing.
They should get back. They should return at least Divinity next year. And I want to say
Fihoko, I believe.
Fihoko,
Rashard Lawrence. And so they got some people returning next season. And also what I'm impressed with was what impressed me about LSU. That's something that they can build off of. They're going to lose Devin White, but his backup, who took over for him in the first half, Patrick Queen looked pretty solid, in my opinion.
Yeah, he played pretty solid for a first start.
For his first time on the field, going against a tough offense like Alabama, I felt that he played pretty solid, and I feel he's a guy that LSU could build their defense kind of around. And I feel that LSU will be in good hands once Devin White is gone.
Yeah, so the future is bright for LSU. I do believe Coach O's taking them in the right direction, and I think he does understand which areas he needs to recruit most at this point. So, hopefully we can halt that 8-game losing streak next year.
I hope so too, but it's gonna be tough. They're gonna be in Tuscaloosa, and Tua Tagovailoa is coming back next season. He's only a sophomore this year. He'll be a junior next season. I don't know if he'll be going into the draft after his junior year. He seems like the type of guy he'll probably stay until he graduates.
Yay. Okay, so the Tigers have Arkansas up next,
and there's some critics saying they already losing belief in LSU. They already saying, "Oh, can Arkansas pull off the upset against LSU?" Look, everybody's saying, "Oh, it's the Golden Boot. It's a rivalry. You can never doubt the rivalry. Can Arkansas pull off the upset against LSU?" Look, stop. Just stop it.
Arkansas is terrible this year.
Have you seen Arkansas this? But then again, Old Dominion had absolutely no chance of beating Virginia Tech, and they put up pretty much their best offensive performance in school history against Virginia Tech. So I wouldn't fully count Arkansas out because anything can happen. I mean, you can never underestimate anybody on your schedule. I mean, we've seen Group of 5 teams knock off Power 5 teams this season, and so you really can't put anything past Arkansas. And a trend that I've seen over the years is that, you know, Arkansas will play some of their worst football during the season, but they will come to Tiger Stadium or they will wait till they play against LSU and play their very best football. I've seen it happen. It's like Arkansas chooses when they want to show up, and I haven't seen Arkansas show up at all this season. And I have a feeling that when LSU comes to Fayetteville, they're going to play their very best football. Because Arkansas, they need something to change their fortunes. They need something that's going to turn the tide. They need something that's going to give them momentum going to next season. And a win over a top 10 LSU team for the Golden Boot is something that they can definitely expound upon going into next season.
Well, you can't sit here and tell me that LSU is not going to come out having just gotten their ass handed to them by Alabama and not be inspired to just come back.
Oh, I mean, LSU is going to play inspiring. I'm just saying what LSU has to look forward to when they go against Arkansas. One, you step into a hostile Fayetteville territory, which, I mean, over the years, LSU has had no problem playing in Fayetteville. The noise doesn't faze them. They're used to playing in there. But what I'm just trying to say is what LSU might have to look forward to is the fact that they're going against an Arkansas team that's trying to turn things around. They're trying to get momentum going into the offseason, not only for the next season, but also for as far as their recruiting is concerned. And so you're going against an Arkansas team they're going to go out and play some inspired football. Now, are they going to beat LSU? No, not going to happen. But then again, Arkansas could probably come out looking flat, and LSU just absolutely thrashes them. In which, right. I mean, look, you got Alabama defense, one of the most stout defenses in the nation, and now you're going from an undefeated team to probably the worst team in the conference, which is a complete difference.
Yeah. So I think LSU's goal right now is, okay, now that the playoffs are out of the picture and that, you know, the SEC West is also out of the picture, I don't see Alabama tripping up the rest of the way. Just come out, finish strong, finish 10-2. That's still significantly better than anybody expected you to do. Get a New Year's Six Bowl.
Finish 11-2, in which it will do wonders for their recruiting. I mean, they got a remarkable recruiting class now, but at the same time, I mean, recruits tend to decommit. Not only that, I mean, if you finish 11-2, you finish top 10. That's going to really help your recruiting out significantly. One, you get to keep the recruits you already have, and two, you get to gain more recruits.
Right.
And I mean, that's how and the reason why I'm talking about recruiting so much is because that's how Alabama has maintained their success over the past decade, was recruiting.
Right. And now that the I forget his name, but the top running back in the nation decommitted from Georgia, and I know LSU was going after him pretty heavily.
And if you look at it, LSU blew out Georgia this season. And so
it was after that game that he decommitted.
Well, not only that, I mean, Georgia, I mean, he probably didn't see himself coming in and making an immediate impact due to the fact that Georgia has DeAndre Swift and they have Elijah Holyfield. And he probably didn't really see himself being a part of that offense. But I feel that LSU will probably be a good fit for him. But then again, LSU has a deep running back core because next season return will be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You got Leonard Fournette, who's Leonard Fournette's little brother, coming back. You got Curry coming back, who's baby beast mode on the LSU team, but we haven't seen a lot of him this season. No. I mean, just every time he carries the ball, we don't really see production out of him.
Yeah, I mean, it's like LSU should be pretty. I like the direction that Coach O is taking them. Some typical, I say, Tiger fans, if you want to call them fans, they just sit there and complain when LSU's not doing what they want them to do. I don't feel like Coach O is a bad coach.
I don't feel he's a bad coach neither. And there are some people that are saying that Coach O is not built to win a national championship. I feel that he is.
dude, I mean, they got to 7-1 this year when no one expected them to win more than 7 games. They've already won 7 games, and it's high as number 3 in the country.
And not only that, they were going toe to toe with Alabama for the SEC West until they met up with Alabama. I don't want to go over that Alabama game again because that was just But Coach O has done an amazing job since taking over. And considering the time where he first took over was the time that LSU had fired Les Miles, and it seems as if we didn't know where that LSU football program was going. But if you look at Coach O, you look at the job that he's done after LSU lost their top offensive line, Ed Ingram, at the beginning of the season. They lose Drake Davis. They lose 2 of their dual threat quarterbacks. And it seems that there has been all hope was lost for this LSU football team going to this season. They start off at number 25 in the polls. Low expectations. They were expected to win, as you said, 7 games. And they weren't supposed to make any type of impact in the conference. You're looking at an LSU team who's faced 6 top 25 opponents and have beaten 4 of them. You're looking at a team who's 7-2 right now. They're in the top 10, and they're about to come in with one of the best recruiting classes in the nation for 2019. And so if you're out there complaining, stop. Trust the process. Yeah, we didn't beat Alabama this season, but we play them every year. We have a chance to go to their house next season. With the guys we got coming back next season, and with the guys that we got coming in next season, I feel we have a strong chance of going to Tuscaloosa and finally knocking off Alabama.
Yeah. Okay. So the positive, New Orleans Saints versus the Los Angeles Rams. Boy, that was a game.
That was a shootout. I mean, you got 2 of the best offenses in the whole league going head to head, so you know it was going to be a shootout, and neither team disappointed.
Now, I was a bit surprised that the Saints were able to jump out to a 21-point lead, but as it turned out, they needed every single one of those 21 points.
Oh, yeah, because them Rams came storming back in the second half. And when the Saints jumped out to a 21-point lead, I'm just like, this is too good to be true. I was watching the game. I'm like, this is too good to be true. And I had a deep feeling in my gut that the Rams were going to storm back. Knowing the Rams and knowing how they've been playing over the past couple seasons, those guys are going to storm back. Have you seen the guys that got on their team? Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods. Oh, that's a lot. But they came storming back in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, the Saints secondary continues to be a concern at this point, opposite of Lattimore. But even Lattimore struggled in the game against the Rams. He got burnt at least once or twice.
I mean, yeah. And it was something that it didn't surprise me due to how talented. I mean, the Rams have one of the most talented receiving corps in the league. I mean, they got Cooper, and they also, and they're also pretty young as well. And so, I mean, there's a bright future for this Rams team as a whole franchise.
Drew Brees had one hell of a game. Over 300 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, not sacked. And interesting fact, not a single sack in this entire game, despite how much talent is on both teams when it comes to defensive line.
That also surprised me. I mean, you look at 2 teams with highly stacked front sevens, but neither team got a sack. But not only that, I mean, both teams also have experience and they have remarkable offensive linemen. You look at the Rams offensive line led by former LSU Tiger Andrew Whitworth, who's been in the league for quite a minute. You look at the Saints offensive line, they got Andrews Pete, Larry Warford, Ryan Ramczyk, Teron Armstead, Max Unger. Both offensive lines are very talented, and so it just goes to show how talented both offenses were.
Yeah. Interesting fact for this week is so the Saints and Rams met last year in Los Angeles, where the Saints lost, 24-17?
It was something around there.
Something around there. Well, the Rams halted the Saints' then 8-game winning streak. This year, it's the Saints who halt the Rams' 8-game winning streak.
That's interesting. More, it's like a measure of revenge.
The Rams win over the Saints last year was the difference maker in who got the 3rd seed and who got the 4th seed. This year, again, it is reverse. The Saints...
But this time it's the 1 and 2 seed.
The Saints beat the Rams and now hold the tiebreaker for playoff seeding.
It's just the Saints got to keep sticking to the script. And, I mean, here's a question that I got for you. Do you feel that, with the way their secondary is struggling, do you feel that Dennis Allen should make a change in his defensive game plan?
That's a tough one.
I mean, so in a way to try and help out the secondary and in a way to make them a little more successful. I mean, any changes you think should be made to that defense?
Any real changes that need to be made to the defense? I don't know. Because you have Sheldon Rankins, who is starting to rise. I mean, okay, aside from this last game where as we stated, there were no sacks by either team.
With Sheldon Rankins, he's more of a late bloomer. I mean, he was a first-round pick from Louisville when he got picked up, but we haven't really seen much from him starting off, but now we're really starting to see his emergence.
So you have Rankins rising right now. You had Marcus Davenport coming around before his toe injury. Okafor is a good compliment to Cam Jordan. When the Saints can apply pressure on the quarterback, it helps out the secondary. The secondary has a better... They seem to do better at making big plays when there is pressure on the quarterback. When it's up to the secondary to hold down the receivers, there seems to be a little bit of, I don't know, a lack of, I don't want to say effort, but they're just not making plays as a unit.
Well, and like Bob told us in the first podcast in the interview, is that what's surprising is that Dennis Allen's not drawing up as many blitzes as he was last season. Right. And that's pretty much the main reason why the Saints secondary was so successful last season. And wow, I just had an epiphany, just like that. I mean, not only because the Saints secondary was had such good coverage last season, but because there was so much pressure dealt up on the quarterback. And just this season, it seems that Dennis Allen kind of, he kind of like step back as far as the number of blitzes was concerned. I mean, he has a front seven. You got DeMario Davis, AJ Klein, Alex Anzalone, Sheldon Rankins, Marcus Davenport, Cam Jordan, Alex Okafor. I mean, you got the front seven to put an intense pressure on the quarterback and really make him uncomfortable, especially when they're in the Superdome.
Right. It's only been 2 games that they've had Eli Apple, but I think that he will eventually come around as a good addition. There certainly seems to be that potential there. But again, it's one of those things where you just kind of have to sit back, watch, and see. I would like to see Ken Crawley come back at some point and get another chance. Obviously, the Saints are hoping to get Patrick Robinson back off of the injured reserves list. So, I don't know. There's a lot that this team can become as we get closer to playoff time. But they haven't peaked yet, and that's obvious. The offense hasn't even peaked yet, and they're absolutely...
That's horrifying.
Yeah. So there's a lot left to be desired for this team, but there's a lot to be excited about at the same time.
I mean, just the fact that the Saints right now are 7-1, and they hold the top spot in the NFC. and you've seen how dominant they've been over their 7-game win streak. To say there's still more to be desired from the Saints team, just imagine if they can hone everything that they've been trying to improve. That's a horrifying feeling if you're an opposing team, especially going into playoff time. If the Saints tighten up their game going into playoff time, and the road to the Super Bowl goes through the Superdome, oh Lord, that's scary.
Yeah, because I like the development of players like Traquan Smith.
He's highly impressed me.
Davenport is another one
he's a freak.
You can see why the Saints traded for him.
And I mean, with Davenport, and I knew he came into the season with something to prove, because when a team trades up to pick you in the draft, that means they see something in you, and that means they want to see immediate impact from you. In order to trade up, it's a gutsy move, and it's paying dividends for the Saints right now as far as their defense is concerned. Marcus Davenport gets hurt, but that's all part of being in NFL. You're going to get bumps and bruises. You're going to hit some roadblocks, but I feel that when Davenport comes back, he's going to pick up from where he left off.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm still just kind of see how this team copes with their shortcomings and how they are able to continue to take advantage of other teams' weaknesses. But this is I think you have to start considering the Saints official Super Bowl contenders at this point. 7 straight wins, 7-1. Hold the tiebreaker over the Los Angeles Rams now, even though they are a game back in the win column. That's only because the Saints have had a bye week. Rams haven't.
Now, I do have a question for you though. Considering how things started once Sean Payton first came to the Saints, and once Drew Brees first came to the Saints, all back in 2006, the Saints were on the verge of absolute collapse, and they were actually on the verge of, that franchise was on the verge of permanently moving from New Orleans.
Yeah, I remember that after Katrina.
You look at how things were then and now. Would you call it the greatest turnaround of a franchise in NFL history?
The greatest turnaround in franchise history.
No, the greatest turnaround of a franchise in NFL history.
Considering the New Orleans Saints history, I would have to say yes. Considering that they were coming off of the disaster that was Hurricane Katrina.
And they had a 3-13 season behind Jim Haslett, and Aaron Brooks is their quarterback. Deuce McAllister was out that season with a torn ACL. I remember that one.
Yeah. Of course, I haven't been around that long. There's a lot more history in the NFL than I've been around for.
True.
But from what I know of league history, yeah, I would definitely put Sean Payton and Drew Brees as really turning things around from the worst.
And Sean Payton, and what impressed me the most about the Saints is just the chemistry between Drew Brees and Sean Payton. It's like Drew Brees is like an assistant coach on the field. It's just the way they coexist out there and the way they gel with each other. It is absolutely remarkable.
Very much so. And it's unfortunate that the chapter is coming to a close, but realistically, Drew Brees only has another 2 or 3 seasons left.
He's 39 years old, but Tom Brady's 41.
So we'll take him for as long as we can.
Please stay, Drew. We love you.
Well, that's about it for this week. We did want to sit here and say that we have officially had our first interview. We had an interview with reporter for the Canal Street Chronicles, Bob Rose. Hey, you could be looking forward to that if I have not released it by the time I put this out already. So go check that out. Continue to follow us on Twitter at AI Sports 3. We're on Facebook at AI Sports Network. And you can find us on Apple Podcast. I'm John Behrens.
I'm Joshua Perkins.
And this has been Cajun Connection. Tune in next week.
Signing out.